terms of team news, you've got Curtis Weston back from suspension. You mentioned last week that Joe Rowley would be available again. Is that in terms of being available for a start or being available to be in the squad? How's his condition coming into Tuesday night?
Yeah, either. It depends how he trains today. He's upped it to 100% the last few days before Saturday. Done some extra stuff, travelled down with the group on Saturday. He comes into the reckoning for sure for tomorrow.
He must be absolutely champion at the bit, because it's been a frustrating time for him the last month or so.
It has, especially the way he played on that evening that he got injured. Obviously, he was one of the best players on the pitch, if not the best, for that 25, 30-minute period. And unfortunately, obviously, the hamstring injury happened. But he's worked on other parts of his game, on parts of his development since he's been out injured. And hopefully we'll see the fruits of that. You know, we've got to give the lad a bit of time to get back into the swing of things. But certainly over the next few weeks, I'm expecting him to come right back into the fold regularly.
I know you won't want to dwell too much on Maidenhead on the weekend, so I wanted to ask you a bit more about the review process that goes on when you look back at games more generally. How does that look at Chesterfield? What exactly does it involve?
Well, obviously, we watch the game back as a staff, and we'll feed back into individuals or collective units or as a team. We'll do that. But like you said, because of the fixture congestion, Saturday, Tuesday, it's very hard. You don't want to dwell too much, so you want to forget about that. We've forgot about that now. We're well on to Sutton. All the work's been done on Sutton yesterday. We obviously played them quite recently. I think it was my second game in my tenure, so 3 months ago. So they haven't changed too much. Matt's done a great job down there. It's really good to see a young manager like himself come in and have such success. He stabilised them last year, obviously, and he's really kicked on with the team this year. And full credit to them to be in the position they're in. But that's all the praise I'm going to give them now, because obviously we're going to battle tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, are there times when you look back at games and how it felt on the touchline looks different on the video?
The more games you watch, I mean, I've probably seen about 200 games at this level now. Not too many surprises at this level. We knew what was coming. That was the most disappointing thing. On about Saturday, without dwelling too much, we didn't perform to the levels that we wanted to. But having said that, 3 losses in 17, it's a blip. It's a minor blip. We mustn't get carried away, just like we don't get carried away with the wins. I said against Yeovil, it's one of my best performances, if not the best team performance since I've been coaching on that game. That in Eastleigh, really impressed. And then Saturday, unfortunately, was one of the worst. We just couldn't get going. We conceded at bad times, conceded terrible goals. But credit to Maidenhead. Like I said, they're a part-time team. They've come back from the defeat at Dagenham well, and they've done a job on us. They know every crook and cranny of that pitch. No doubt the conditions had a part to play. But it's the same for both teams, and we didn't adapt. So I'm expecting a reaction tomorrow. I have full confidence in the team that they'll react like they did against the Stockport defeat, and we're really looking forward to the game.
Just one more on the review process that you go through. In that, you've spoken every time I hear you interviewed. There is a stat that I've never heard before. You talked last week, I think it was, about the place where duels happen on the pitch being sort of 20 or 30 yards further up the pitch now than it was when you started here. How much of football is now completely quantifiable, and how much remains emotional and things that you just can't put into numbers?
Well, I always say you can't forget the coach's eye. You have to go by the experiences of the coach as well. It has a massive impact on the percentage of the feedback you give into individuals, because stats are stats and they can be dangerous because you can look into them too much. But we know what we can quantify. We know what's important to us, and we know what important areas, duels, for example, we know where we want to have those duels to know that we've got the territory on the pitch. Unfortunately, on Saturday, it was nowhere near where we wanted it to be. And they had 12 shots and we had 12 shots. So, it wasn't a hammering or anything like that. That's the thing. I think the performances have been that good recently that we've dominated games. All of a sudden, we've had a couple of even games and people are panicking a little bit, but there's no panic in the camp here. It's one loss. There's going to be more bumps along the way. And I said, I think 2 weeks ago, we're blessed to be looking upwards rather than downwards at the moment. And if we still win our games in hand, we're in the top 7, which is some achievement from obviously when I took over.
When it comes to feeding back to players and their numbers, are there players that want to know their numbers? Are there players that don't? Are there players that need to know them and players that don't? How does that sort of feedback process work then?
Feedback works both ways. So the players will bring me or the stuff as well, clips, numbers or whatever. And obviously everyone's an individual, and individuality is part of my coaching philosophy. So never forget the individual skills when they come on the pitch. Limit the information we give them because we want to play with freedom. But they need that structure. Every team needs that structure and that game plan as such. And unfortunately, for the first time, we didn't perform well enough on that game plan, and the rest fell apart.
Sutton then, coming into this, league leaders, 7 wins in 8. The form is tremendous. You've already praised them a lot. What do you consider their key strengths to be then you're going to have to combat on Tuesday night?
Well, their form was great going into the game. We played them at Gander Green Lane, so we have nothing to fear. But they're a very powerful team. They played laterally. What I mean by that is a lot of forward passes. They try to exploit space behind. They're athletic. They're powerful. They're good on the counter attack and good from set plays. So that's their strengths. But we've got our own strengths, and if we can dominate the space and the ball like I've been talking about, which we've done in the last 6 home games, with 6 home games on the bounce now, can we make it 7 in the league tomorrow evening, which would be a great achievement.
Yeah, it's that old cliche of making the technique a fortress. It certainly is at the moment, isn't it?
It is, and without the fans as well, without the 12th man, yes, we get all the messages on social media. We know they're fully behind us, and some fantastic messages to the players and to myself since the loss on Saturday. I think there's a real togetherness, and we know where we are, and there's going to be blips. There's going to be adversity because I'm only 17 weeks into the tenure. We've got to be realistic about this, but it's going well. Yes, a blip on Saturday. Can we get back on it tomorrow evening? And that's the challenge against the league leaders. And what better game to play than to get back going against the team everyone's chasing.
Yeah, absolutely. That inspiration, well, it's there to be said straight away, isn't it? There's nothing you, I guess, need to say to players when you're playing the side that's top of the league.
No, I know this group quite well, and individuals in the change room. I know what they'll bring tomorrow. I'm very confident, and it's going to be some game tomorrow.
James, thanks for your time.
Thank you. Cheers.
Good morning, James. Good to speak to you again.
Hi, Liam.
How do you think you've progressed in the last 3 months since that Sutton away game, which was one of your first matches?
Well, we've progressed well because the table doesn't lie, but I think we've been a bit unfortunate with the games that have been off that we're always chasing, so we can never get a realistic table, a place in the table, if that makes sense, because we seem to always be chasing the games. So it'd be nice to balance them out, and it'd also be good to find out what's happening with the Dover points, so we know where we are. However, we can't control that. Can only control what happens tomorrow evening and what's in front of us. I'm only interested in looking forward. After wins, they're quickly forgotten, and losses are quickly forgotten now because we can't dwell. The fixtures are thick and fast, and if we want to get to where we want to get to, we have to put things in the bin quickly, good and bad. We always have to look at the next challenge, and hopefully after May the 29th or June the 19th, we're where we want to be.
Have you had any feedback as a club about what might happen to Dover?
No, not at the moment. No, we haven't heard anything. Only whispers at the moment. But I presume that now, obviously, the National League North and South is null and void. That's been decided. I presume the next thing is what's going to happen to Dover.
So, on the back of a defeat, then, is it a good time to play a team top of the league or not?
It's always a good time to play the top of the league at home when your home form's so good, which ours is. They're going to come and realise that. They also want to put one on us because obviously in my second game we've gone to their home ground and got a victory, a well-deserved victory. So they're going to be right up for it, and I'm really looking forward to it. And I think the players will be. I think Sutton will be as well, and I think the neutral fans will as well. So it's a great game to be part of. We're looking forward to it. Unfortunately, we didn't reach the levels we wanted to on Saturday. But in football, the beauty is you've always got another game while the season's going on. We've got a game now, tomorrow evening, to put it right.
And do you think this game will give you a good indication of how close you are to a team like Sutton on top of the league, or is it just a one-off game that you can't read too much into?
Yeah, I don't think you can read too much into the games at the moment. Nothing's won or lost tomorrow. We just need to concentrate on ourselves. We've got a game plan. We know what they're going to bring. And we need to make sure we influence it how we want to. I said that on Friday. I said that before the Yeovil game as well, which we did. We did against Yeovil and Eastleigh. We haven't done that on Saturday. So we're learning as a group. And sometimes when you're forming as a group, before you can really kick on and reach those consistent levels, you need time. But because of the playoffs, because we've got a chance at the playoffs now, everything becomes a little bit more short-termism. So results do matter. The small details matter even more, perhaps when you're looking at trying to achieve medium-term objectives. If we were where we thought we might be, bottom half in the, trying to push for mid-table, which would have been a good season considering we were second from bottom when I took over, that would have been seen as a good season. I think because we've stormed it so well the last 17 games, we're now looking at short-term results, the impacts. Okay, how far can we go this season? And we've got a real chance with this group. We've got a real chance, and it's a great place to be. So we're going into tomorrow evening thinking, okay, roll our sleeves up, put Saturday behind us. What have we got on the locker to show? And I'm really looking forward to seeing it.
Are you tempted to ring the changes tomorrow night?
Well, if you make changes and you lose the game, obviously criticism comes quite rightly to myself. It's going to happen. That's part of the game. But we made 6 changes or 5 changes against Eastleigh and dominated the game and won 1-0. So praise then comes to you. There's no middle ground with that. But I've said from the start that we have to utilise the squad because games come thick and fast and we want to play with energy. I made changes on Saturday. The energy wasn't there. So changes will need to be made and it needs to be put right.
I suppose if you do make changes, nobody can really have any complaints after that performance on Saturday.
No, I think bar 1 or 2, it just wasn't there. But it happens, the highest teams in the world lose games. We're going to lose games. We have no divine right. What's disappointing is, I've said from the start of my tenure, is we have to respect every opponent at this level. Every opponent poses different challenges, especially away from home because of the conditions. We didn't play with any love or respect for the game or the opponent. We turned up and we didn't put in the game plan that I wanted, and that's why we lost. Simple as that. But it's the only game that's happened. The heart, the fight, the determination's been there in mass in the games. And I know what the group's about, so I know tomorrow we're going to have a right go. It's going to be a fantastic game of football against an informed team, and what a better way to put it right against the league leaders.